The habitat of this group here, what do you think? What do you think you find these people here?
I suspect that you would find them in universities. You'd find the people who are very bright, people who are in the leading edge of professions. It's an intellectual thing.
Well, I suggest that you find them in mental hospital, in nut houses. And the reason for that is that these people, they live in a different reality, in a reality which is very changed, and few of them are adapted to live in this reality. So naturally, they can't function very well. So the only safe place, only good place for them would be the mental hospital, unless they can integrate their different view of reality with their daily lives. Now, if they can integrate it, then we have people like Newton, like Darwin, these are the so-called geniuses.
In 1979, a man boarded a plane carrying proof that would change everything. His name was Itzhak Bentov. He called himself a nuts and bolts man, a plumber. He invented the cardiac catheter that saves lives in every hospital on Earth. But 6 months before he died, he measured something impossible. He proved that when your heart beats exactly 7 times per second, your entire brain starts vibrating at the same frequency as planet Earth. And in that state, the walls between you and everyone else dissolve. You can feel what others feel, know things you shouldn't know, see events before they happen. He was on his way to share this discovery with scientists worldwide. Flight 191 from Chicago. All 273 people died on takeoff. The deadliest crash in American history. His research vanished in the wreckage. 2 years later, the CIA released a document using his exact techniques to train remote viewers and spies. They called it Gateway Process. This is the story of what Bentov actually discovered, why it terrified people in power, and the technique he left behind that still works today. Let's begin. Before I show you what killed him, you need to understand who this man really was. Because Bentov wasn't some mystic in a cave somewhere. His wife Metala said it best. He was trained as a mechanical engineer, a nuts and bolts man, someone who understood how machines work, how bodies work, how physical reality operates at the deepest level. He held dozens of patents, made real money, invented medical devices used in hospitals worldwide. In other words, when this man said, "I can measure consciousness leaving the body," people had to pay attention. Because he had the credentials, he had the equipment, he had the proof, and that made him dangerous. Bentov would start his talks by saying, "Now we will talk about all there is, from atom to cosmos, from humanhood to godhood, no less." And people would laugh. But he meant it. He had this tremendous sense of humor, this ability to explain incredibly complex ideas in simple ways. He drew cartoon-like illustrations in his books, made jokes. But underneath that lightness was something profound. He had discovered how to measure the evolution of human consciousness, and he could prove it worked. His book, Stalking the Wild Pendulum, became a bestseller among people searching for answers about consciousness and reality. The subtitle was On the Mechanics of Consciousness, How It Actually Works, like an engineer explaining an engine. So let me show you what he discovered. Bentov used something called a bell curve to explain human evolution. Picture a small town with 1,000 people. You measure everyone's height. A few people are very short, maybe 3 feet tall. A few are very tall, 7 or 8 feet. But most people cluster right in the middle, around 5'6". That's the average. The bell curve shows you where most people are. Now apply that same curve to consciousness. The bulk of humanity today is reasonably intelligent, walks upright, drives cars, pushes buttons on TVs. That's the average, the middle of the curve. But there's a small group at the back end. Bentov called them the gorilla types. People who still beat their chests when they see their neighbors. Very primitive consciousness. And then, at the far edge, the cutting edge, are highly evolved people, geniuses, mystics, people operating on a completely different level. Now here's where it gets interesting. Evolution is pushing the entire curve forward. 1,000,000 years from now, the whole thing shifts. What's average today becomes primitive. What's genius today becomes normal. And the cutting edge? We can't even imagine what that consciousness will be like. Maybe they won't have physical bodies at all. So where do you find these cutting-edge people today? The ones way out ahead of the curve? You might think universities, right? The brightest minds in research and science. And Bentov would say, well, some are there. But you know where else you find them? Mental hospitals. Halfway houses. Because these people live in a different reality. They see things others don't see. And most of them can't integrate that expanded perception with daily life, so they can't function. They end up institutionalized, unless they can integrate it, unless they can bring that expanded awareness into normal reality. Then you get Newton, Darwin, Einstein, the people who change everything. But what is actually evolving? This is the key. It's not your personality. It's not your body. It's your nervous system. The nervous system is what gives you your picture of reality. Everything you see, the flowers, the chairs, the sky, all of it comes through your senses. And your senses are extensions of your nervous system. But here's the problem. Your senses are incredibly limited. You don't see ultraviolet light. You don't see infrared. You only hear frequencies between about 20 and 20,000 hertz. Below that, above that, you're deaf to it. In other words, you're looking at reality through a very narrow slit, a tiny window. The rest is there, all around you, but you can't perceive it. As you evolve, that slit opens wider. You see more and more of the total reality. Bentov gave this example. In the Bible, they mention maybe 4 to 6 colors maximum. That's what people saw 4,000 years ago. Today we see hundreds, thousands of colors. Our visual system evolved. Our fellow mammals, like cows and horses, they see only black and white. We've evolved beyond that. So evolution isn't creating different realities. It's expanding your bandwidth to perceive more of one very large reality that was always there. And Bentov proved this could be measured. He built instruments, ran experiments, showed that consciousness expansion wasn't mystical, it was mechanical. It followed laws, it could be replicated. And that's what made powerful people very nervous. Because if you can expand your perception, if you can see the reality that most people are blind to, then you become very difficult to control. You can see when you're being lied to. You can access information without official channels. You can't be manipulated the same way. Bentov used this example in his talks. Imagine a 15-year-old kid sitting at the dinner table with his family. He looks up and says, "Hey Ma, look, there's our dead grandmother standing in the corner." The mother looks around. She doesn't see anything. She says, "There's no grandmother there. You need help. You're crazy." She takes him to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist asks, "What do you see?" The kid says, "Don't you see her, doctor? Right there in the corner." The psychiatrist looks, sees nothing, writes a prescription. Thorazine, maybe electroshock. 2 weeks later, the kid is back to normal. Doesn't see anything anymore. The process has been reversed. This is called a psychotic episode, an acute schizophrenic break. But Bentov said something different. There's a good chance that kid was actually seeing something. He had a spontaneous opening of his senses. The nervous system filter dropped for a moment. Evolution rushed up too fast. He saw something that's actually there, but that most people are blind to. And what did we do? We medicated it away. We forced him back into normal perception. Bentov called this flattening miracles. In the Bible, every page has a miracle or two. Now, there are no miracles. Why? Because we've defined them out of existence. We call them psychotic episodes and drug them into submission. Take St. Paul on the road to Damascus. A big ball of white light descends. Jesus appears in it, talks to him. Paul is blinded, falls down, has this incredible experience. He gets to Damascus, starts a campaign, builds the church, changes history. We call it a miracle, a revelation. Now imagine the same thing happening today. This guy is driving down Route 128 in Massachusetts. A ball of white light appears in front of his windshield. He sees a figure. He's so overwhelmed his driving gets wobbly. A cop sees him swerving, pulls him over. The guy is babbling about Jesus and the light. The cop thinks he's driving under the influence, arrests him, takes him to the station. They send him to the mental hospital. The reception desk puts down in the logbook, acute psychotic episode with religious overtones. That's what we do to miracles now. We flatten them to grey powder. And everyone wonders why there are no more miracles like in Bible times. This is why. We've redefined expanded consciousness as mental illness. But Bentov understood something deeper. It's not just your mind that's evolving, it's something permanent. Something that doesn't die with your body. He called it the soul. Most people think of the soul as this theoretical thing you take out of the closet on Sundays, polish up, take to church, then put back until next week. But Bentov said we have it backwards. We don't have souls. Souls have us. The soul is the permanent eternal thing. The body is disposable, like a car. You use it for 80,000 miles, 100,000 miles, then you're done. You get another one. The driver is the soul. The soul uses the body for a while, runs it into the ground, gets another one. And the soul is what evolves. The soul is the repository of information that you gather during a lifetime. So when your body dies, you don't end. You just change frequencies. You tune to a different level of the same reality. Bentov drew it like this. At the physical level, we're separate. You sit there, I sit here. Clear boundaries. But at the soul level, we start to overlap. Your energy field extends into mine. The souls are in touch with each other. At the higher self level, there's even more overlap. At the highest spiritual level, we're completely overlapping. Everyone is overlapping everyone else. Everything. And everyone is everywhere. We've become omnipresent. That's the state of highly spiritual beings, what some people call gods. And here's the key. You exist on all those levels simultaneously right now. You're just not aware of it. When we see each other as separate, that's only true on the physical plane. At higher levels, we're already connected, already one. So the purpose of evolution? Whether you like it or not, you're evolving toward that state where you understand you're part of everything, where you're omnipresent, all-knowing. Because the system, the universe itself, wants to teach you about itself. It's an intelligence-gathering system, and it freely distributes that information. You started as undifferentiated matter billions of years ago, slowly evolved into more complex forms, eventually became a human being with a nervous system sensitive to certain levels of reality. Your eyes, ears, nose, senses. That's material reality, the world you navigate every day. But evolution is pushing you beyond that. Your soul is being pushed toward elevated consciousness, toward higher realities, and ultimately toward perfection. Whether you want it or not, it's happening. Now, can you speed it up? Yes. Bentov said you use meditative techniques that push the nervous system faster than the normal evolutionary rate. Those techniques are available, but you don't need to do anything. It's going to happen anyway. That was his view, a very big, bright, hopeful view. We're all on a journey home. Now here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Because somewhere in the early 1970s, Bentov started meditating. Not for religion, for research. He wanted to know what actually happens to your body when you meditate. What changes mechanically? What can we measure? Because that's how an engineer thinks. One day in 1973, he's sitting in his basement meditating when he feels something strange. A rhythmic pulsing in his head. Not painful, mechanical. Like something vibrating inside his skull. Most people would ignore it. Bentov attached sensors. He measured it. Every time his heart beat, it sent a pressure wave up his aorta. That wave hit the arch, bounced back, created a standing wave. That wave traveled up his spine into his brainstem. Nothing weird yet, that's just physics. But when his heart slowed to exactly 7 beats per second during deep meditation, something synchronized. The vibration in his spine matched the natural resonance frequency of his skull cavity. His entire brain started oscillating, actually physically moving in rhythm. And when he measured the electromagnetic field around his head, It extended 3 feet outside his body. Think about that. Your brain is supposed to be isolated in your skull, private. But Bentov proved that in this state, you're broadcasting an electromagnetic signal that reaches beyond your physical body. 7 beats per second, 7 hertz. That's not random. It's the Schumann resonance, the natural frequency of Earth's electromagnetic field. When your heart hits that rhythm, you're not just vibrating, you're tuning into the planet itself, like a radio finding the right station. Bentov realized your body wasn't just vibrating, it was synchronizing with Earth's frequency. And in that state, you're not separate from the environment, you're entangled with it. You're not in the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself through a localized point of awareness. And he proved this could be measured. He trained test subjects to reach the 7 hertz state. He used a device called a ballistocardiograph, something that picks up micro vibrations of the body. The results were stunning. Normal breathing showed up as large curves on the chart. Normal heartbeat showed as disrupted, irregular patterns. But in deep meditation, the breathing practically disappeared, became a flat line, and the heartbeat transformed from that disrupted pattern into a perfect sine wave, 7 cycles per second. Bentov looked at this as an engineer and said, "This is harmonization. All the frequencies in the body have come into resonance. The body is vibrating like a tuned instrument. And in that state, the electromagnetic field around the head becomes an antenna, capable of sending and receiving information it couldn't access before." He called it the Kundalini model. When this energy rises up the spine, when the body enters this harmonic state at 7 hertz, higher perceptions become possible. This isn't mysticism. This is measurable physiology. The heart and lungs begin to synchronize. They talk to each other. A pulse comes down the aorta and waits for the reflection to come back up. They go up together. No clash, no disruption. The body goes into resonance. That triggers the brain. The brain is a gel-like substance floating in fluid inside a rigid skull. When the body vibrates at 7 hertz, the brain gets stimulated mechanically. And brain tissue is piezoelectric. When you stimulate it mechanically, it generates an electromagnetic field. That field extends outside the skull. You become a transmitter and receiver. On top of the third ventricle in the brain is a drum-like surface with nerve fibers crossing it. These fibers connect the right and left hemispheres. When the fluid vibrates harmoniously at 7 hertz, it activates those fibers. The 2 hemispheres synchronize, and we know consciousness expands when both hemispheres work together in harmony. A current gets established in the sensory cortex. The whole system comes online. And in that state, Bentov measured people reporting things they shouldn't know, feeling emotions that weren't theirs, seeing mental images of places they'd never been, knowing what someone was about to say before they said it. All measurable, all documented. Now here's where it gets even stranger. Bentov found that when you're tuned to 7 hertz, you plug into Earth's frequency, and Earth is surrounded by electromagnetic fields, the magnetosphere, plasma sheets, solar wind, all kinds of vibrations. When you tune into Earth's frequency, you then tune into the entire solar system, into the cosmos itself. You become part of the cosmic vibration. His wife Myrtala explained it like this: through the mechanism of Kundalini and the resonant state of the body, higher perceptions become available. This biosphere around Earth resonates at 7 cycles per second. When you lock into that frequency, you get locked into the frequency of the planet itself. That's why the meditative state is so relaxing. Some people find it difficult to come out of. You've merged with something much larger than yourself. Bentov measured the electromagnetic field around people in this state. At 7 hertz, the field expands dramatically, extends about 20 inches from the body and tapers off. When he put hundreds of meditators together, he measured the frequencies of inner sounds they reported hearing. One major frequency. Then harmonic peaks where many people heard the same sounds. Everyone was hearing variations of one fundamental sound. Some heard entire chords. It varied based on their level of evolution. But they were all tapping into the same cosmic vibration. This is the connection. This is how we're all linked. Through this field that extends beyond our bodies when we tune to the right frequency. His wife Myrtala said Bentov looked at reality as a hologram, a totality where every part is related to every other part, all interdependent. And this hologram is vibratory in nature. It's an on-off reality. We're only part-time here. It's an oscillating field. May appear continuous to us, but it's actually like a film, composed of separate frames. He looked at reality as consciousness itself. Consciousness in a state of evolution, unfolding itself to know itself. There's nothing outside it. Physical reality, the manifest world, is just another expression of consciousness at different levels of evolution. Matter is consciousness at various stages, and reality is perceived by those experiencing it only at the level of their own nervous system evolution. As a biomedical engineer, Bentov specialized in studying how changes in consciousness affect physiology. His wife said he never claimed this as ultimate truth. He always said, "I speak from my present level of ignorance," because ignorance grows exponentially. The more answers you get, the more questions arise. It's an unending process of consciousness unfolding. Reality revealed itself to him in terms of structure because he dealt with mechanisms. To someone else, it might reveal as poetry or music. We're all like snowflakes, similar yet different. And the way Bentov's mind worked, he saw the architecture, the mechanics, the repeating patterns at every scale, from atoms to cosmos. Now let's talk about what happened next. Because in June 1979, Bentov was invited to Japan, an international consciousness conference. Scientists from around the world. He was going to present his latest research, show them the measurements, teach them the technique. May 25th, 1979, Chicago O'Hare Airport, American Airlines Flight 191. Destination Los Angeles, then Tokyo. Bentov boards the plane with documents, research papers, everything he'd discovered. The plane takes off. 31 seconds into the flight, the left engine tears off the wing. The DC-10 rolls left, flips inverted, crashes into a field. Everyone dies instantly. 273 people. The deadliest aviation disaster in American history. And in that wreckage is Itzhak Bentov and all the research he was carrying. The unpublished manuscripts, gone. The official investigation found mechanical failure. The engine mount cracked from metal fatigue. A maintenance error. Case closed. Accident. But here's what's strange. His research notes were never recovered. The documents he was carrying to Japan vanished. And within 2 years, the CIA had a program running that used almost identical techniques to what Bentov had developed. Let me show you the timeline so you can see this clearly. 1973 to 1978, Bentov publishes his work, writes books, develops meditation techniques, proves electromagnetic entrainment. All public. Anyone can read it. 1979, he dies in the crash carrying his latest unpublished research. 1983, the CIA writes a document called Analysis and Assessment of Gateway Process. 29 pages describing how to use consciousness for intelligence gathering. In 2003, this document was declassified, released to the public. And when you read it, you see Bentov's work everywhere. The Gateway Process is a training system designed to bring enhanced strength, focus, and coherence to the amplitude and frequency of brainwave output between left and right hemispheres, so as to alter consciousness, moving it outside the physical sphere. They're teaching operatives to tune their brains to access information outside normal reality, using sound frequencies to synchronize brain hemispheres, achieving a 7 Hz brain state for expanded perception, describing the holographic nature of reality, accessing information beyond space and time, every single concept Bentov had published. But the CIA wasn't using this for enlightenment. They were weaponizing it, Remote viewing, seeing locations thousands of miles away. Precognition, knowing events before they happen. Telepathy, reading minds. Project Stargate ran for 20 years. $20 million budget. Official purpose? Use remote viewing to spy on Soviet installations. Real purpose? Test if consciousness could be weaponized. And according to declassified files, it worked. Remote viewers described buildings they'd never seen with verifiable accuracy, predicted events before they happened with statistical significance, accessed classified information they shouldn't have known. The program was officially shut down in 1995. Official reason: inconclusive results. But here's the thing. When government programs actually don't work, they just quietly defund them. No announcement. When they make a big public show of shutting something down and say it didn't work, that usually means it worked too well. It means they're moving it into black budget programs nobody knows about. So connect the dots. Bentov proves consciousness can be tuned like a radio to access non-local information. The CIA gets interested. Bentov dies carrying his latest research. The CIA launches Gateway using his techniques. It works. Remote viewing works. Then they publicly say it didn't work and shut it down. Now I can't prove the plane crash wasn't an accident. Mechanical failures happen. But I can show you what they did with his work after he died. And it goes far darker than just spying. Once you prove consciousness can access information remotely, the next question becomes obvious. Can it influence things remotely? Can consciousness not just receive but transmit? Not just perceive but change reality? That's where the documents get disturbing. Project Stargate, Gateway, all testing the same question. Can we control what people perceive without them knowing? Here's one technique they tested. Biological entrainment. Expose someone to faint rhythmic pulses, too subtle to consciously hear. Those pulses gradually synchronize their brain waves to a specific frequency. In that frequency, they become more suggestible, less critical, more likely to accept information without questioning. Imagine walking into a room, inaudible frequencies pulsing at 7 Hz. Your brain waves entrain to that rhythm without you noticing. Someone delivers a message, your critical thinking is suppressed. You're more receptive. You accept it. You leave thinking it was your own conclusion. That was 1980s technology. Imagine what's possible now with smartphones, smart speakers, wireless frequencies everywhere. But there's an even more effective technique. It was developed by a former Navy interrogator named Gregory Hughes. He spent 20 years training military and intelligence operatives in what he calls controlled perception. The ability to change what someone believes is real without them noticing the shift. Your brain constantly builds a model of reality. Every moment it's checking, does this make sense? When you encounter contradictory information, your brain scrambles to resolve it. And in that scrambling moment, your defenses drop. Hughes uses this analogy. When you're falling, your arms flail, grabbing for anything solid. You don't think, you just grab. Thorn bush, tree branch, doesn't matter. You need to hold on to something. Your brain works the same way when confused. It grabs the first logical explanation it encounters, accepts it without screening. So here's the formula. Step 1. Give someone contradictory facts that can't both be true. Create confusion. Their brain scrambles. Step 2. While they're confused, deliver the message you want them to accept. Frame it as the solution. Their brain grabs it like a life raft. Real-world example. The economy is booming, record corporate profits. But you're struggling financially. Why? That's contradictory. Your brain scrambles. Then someone says, it's because of this external group, this other. Your confused brain grabs that explanation without examining if it's true, and you'll defend that belief. Argue for it. Insist you reasoned your way to it, because your brain genuinely believes it chose that conclusion. At scale, this creates parallel realities. Two people in the same physical world experiencing completely different mental worlds. Same events, opposite interpretations, each certain they're right. And if you think this is just about black site interrogations, you're missing the scale. These techniques didn't stay classified. They evolved. They moved into platforms you use every day. Let me show you something most people don't know. Google wasn't just two Stanford students with a good idea. It was incubated and funded by DARPA, the CIA, and the NSA. This is documented. The PageRank algorithm was developed in DARPA labs first, CIA and NSA. Personnel visited Sergey Brin regularly during development, testing it, funding it. Why would intelligence agencies fund a search engine? Because it's not just answering questions, it's mapping how you think. Every search, every click, every pause builds a model of your mind. The better the model, the easier you are to predict. And prediction means control. Data feeds predictions. Predictions shape what you see. What you see shapes what you believe. What you believe shapes who you are. That loop is running on billions of people right now. But they're not just controlling present perception. They're predicting and controlling future choices before you make them. Alex Pentland at MIT researches, using behavioral data to predict human decisions before people consciously make them. Your movement patterns, communication patterns, even how you hold your phone, all of it reveals what you'll do next with shocking accuracy. He calls it foraging behavior, ancient biological programming. You have routines, break into exploratory bursts, return to routines. That pattern is measurable, predictable, exploitable. With enough data, algorithms forecast opinion shifts before you're aware you're changing your mind, purchase decisions before you know you want to buy, relationship problems before the first argument. Once you can predict, you can intervene, change notification timing, alter headline framing, reorder search results. Each tiny shift increases odds you'll make the choice they want, and it feels organic. You believe you're deciding. But the environment has been engineered to make certain choices feel more natural. Lisa Feldman Barrett's neuroscience research shows your brain doesn't react to the world. Your brain predicts the world based on past experience. Your reality is a prediction based on your mental model. Change the model. Change the reality you experience. That's what these systems do. Feed you experiences that reshape your prediction model over time. Eventually, you're not seeing reality. You're seeing the constructed reality filtered through the model they helped you build. It doesn't need to work on everyone. Just enough people, enough of the time to shift society's trajectory. Every interaction teaches the system more about you. Predictions get more accurate. Nudges get smaller, more precise, harder to detect. A perfectly tuned environment doesn't force compliance. It makes you walk willingly toward the path already drawn. You think it was your idea, so review where we are. Bentov proved consciousness connects everything. We're all part of one unified field. The CIA weaponized that connection. Tech companies built the infrastructure to run it globally. Now they can predict and control choices before you make them. Shape reality without you knowing. So what do you do? How do you break free? That's what I'm about to teach you. Because Bentov didn't just discover the problem, he left the solution. A technique that breaks you out of this. And I'm walking you through it, step by step right now. Everything up to now has been showing you the prison. Now here's the key to walk out. Bentov's technique works because it's based on physics, not belief. You're not visualizing or hoping. You're changing your body's actual electromagnetic frequency, tuning to a different channel. Remember, your heart is an oscillator. Every beat sends a wave through your body. At 7 beats per second, that wave synchronizes with Earth's electromagnetic field. When that happens, you tune into the universal consciousness Bentov mapped. You step outside the default frequency the control systems depend on. In that state, their predictions stop working. They built models assuming you'd stay in default perception. When you shift frequencies, you become unpredictable. You see the manipulation, You feel when something's designed to control you. Here's exactly how you do it. Sit with your spine straight, not rigid, just aligned, natural. This creates a clear path for the pressure wave to travel from heart up spine to brain. If you're slouched, the wave gets disrupted. So sit up. Feel your spine stacking naturally. Now breathe. 4 counts in, hold 4 counts, 4 counts out, hold 4 counts. Repeat. Box breathing. Navy SEALs use this, not for calmness, for nervous system control. This rhythm synchronizes your autonomic nervous system. Heart rate, breathing, brain waves all align. Put your attention on your physical heart. Not the concept, the actual organ in your chest. Feel it beating, the mechanical contraction and expansion. You're not imagining this. It's really there. You're becoming aware of what's already happening. As you breathe in this pattern, feel the wave traveling from your heart up your spine. Every heartbeat sends a pressure wave. You can feel it if you pay attention. It moves through your chest, neck, into the base of your skull. This is real physics, your body's electromagnetic activity. You're noticing what's always been there. You'll know you're doing it right when you feel a subtle vibration in your head. Some people feel pressure at the base of the skull where spine meets head. Others feel rhythmic pulsing in the center of the forehead. Some feel general humming throughout the head. Everyone experiences it differently, but you'll know it. It's distinct, clear. Once you feel that vibration, shift awareness to the space around your head. The electromagnetic field extends several feet outside your skull. Bentov measured this. It's not imagination. You might feel subtle tingling, a sense of expansion, like your awareness is bigger than your physical boundary. When you reach this state, several things happen measurably. Your brain waves shift to 7 to 8 hertz, alpha-theta border, deep meditation frequency. Heart rate variability increases dramatically. Time between heartbeats becomes more variable, a sign of health and coherence. The electromagnetic field around your body strengthens and expands. In this state, according to Bentov's measurements and the CIA's own research, you can perceive information outside normal sensory range. Access memories with unusual clarity. Sense emotional states of people near you without words. You just know. You feel it. Start with 10 minutes daily. Don't force anything. Don't expect fireworks. You're training your nervous system to recognize and stabilize in a new frequency, like learning an instrument. At first you're clumsy, but practice makes it natural. Week 1, you're learning to feel the heart-brain wave. Most people don't notice much, maybe feel relaxed, maybe nothing special. That's normal. Keep going. Week 2, the head vibration becomes more distinct. You recognize it clearly. That's the feeling. That's the state. Week 3, you notice subtle changes outside meditation. Colors slightly more vivid. Sounds have more texture. You notice things you used to filter out. Week 4, the state becomes easier to access. You can drop into it within 2 to 3 minutes instead of 10. Your nervous system is learning, creating new pathways. After 30 days consistent practice, Bentov said most people experience insights that feel like they come from outside normal thought, ideas appearing fully formed, unusual synchronicities, meaningful coincidences too precise to be random. You think of someone, they call. You need information, it appears. Brief moments where boundaries between self and environment feel permeable. You're not sure where you end and the world begins. Bentov warned, if you open this too fast without stabilization, your nervous system can become overwhelmed. You're increasing bandwidth, seeing more reality than you're used to processing. Too aggressive, and it feels like overload. Psychiatrists call this psychotic break. But you're not seeing things that aren't there. You're seeing things that are there, but your brain isn't trained to process yet. Like turning volume too loud. The music is real, You're just getting too much too fast. So move slowly, increase time gradually. 10 minutes first month, then 15, then 20. Stay grounded in physical reality while expanding perception. Keep your job. Maintain relationships. Don't run off to a cave. Integration is key. Most importantly, keep practicing even when nothing seems to happen, even when it feels boring, even when you wonder if it's working. Because here's what this is really about. The systems we discussed, prediction engines, perception control, reality construction, all rely on you staying locked in default nervous system state. They built models, assuming you'll stay on that frequency. When you shift to 7 Hz, you step outside those models, become unpredictable. You're not rejecting reality. You're expanding bandwidth to see more of what's actually there, perceiving things always there, but you were filtering out. Once you see manipulation, once you feel when something's designed to control you, they can't control it anymore. You see it, feel it, have a choice. Now let me tell you what actually changes when you practice this. Because this isn't just about sitting quietly for 10 minutes. This is about fundamentally shifting how you move through the world. Think of it like this. Right now, most people are like radios stuck on one station. Static, interference, conflicting signals all jamming together. You can't hear clearly. You react to everything. Someone cuts you off in traffic, you're angry for an hour. You see a news headline, anxiety spikes. You scroll social media, suddenly you're comparing yourself to everyone, feeling inadequate. You're not in control. You're being played like an instrument by every external stimulus hitting your nervous system. That's the default state. That's what they're counting on. But when you practice Bentov's technique daily, something shifts. Imagine you're cleaning a dirty window. At first, you can barely see through it. Everything outside looks dim, distorted. You make one wipe across the glass. Not much changes. You can still barely see. You wipe again. Still pretty dirty. But you keep wiping. Every day. Same spot. Same motion. And slowly, the window gets clearer. One day you look through it and realize, oh, I can actually see now. The world outside didn't change. The window changed. Your perception changed. That's what's happening here. You're cleaning the window of your nervous system. Wiping away the accumulated grime of stress, conditioning, manipulation, fear that's been building up your whole life. And here's what happens when that window gets clear. You start noticing the space between stimulus and response. Someone says something that would normally trigger you, but now there's a gap, a pause. You feel the trigger coming, but you're not inside it anymore. You're watching it, like you've stepped back half an inch from your own reactions. And in that space, you have a choice. You can respond consciously instead of reacting unconsciously. This is freedom. Real freedom. Not the fake freedom of choosing between Coke and Pepsi. The actual freedom of choosing how your nervous system responds to reality. Most people never experience this. They go their whole lives on autopilot, reacting, thinking they're free while their buttons get pushed 1,000 times a day. Bentov understood this. He said the nervous system is what gives us our picture of reality. Change the nervous system, change reality itself. And he wasn't speaking metaphorically, he meant it literally. When you tune to 7 Hz, you're not just feeling calmer, you're accessing a different bandwidth of information. Think of it like upgrading from black and white TV to color. The broadcast was always in color. You just didn't have the equipment to receive it. Now, you do. So what do you start seeing? You start seeing patterns. The same manipulation technique shows up in 3 different places in one day. Before, you wouldn't have noticed. Now it's obvious, like seeing the matrix code. You walk into a store and you feel the engineered scarcity, the artificial urgency, buy now, limited time. Your old self would have felt that pressure and acted on it. Your new self feels it and recognizes it. Oh, that's a technique. That's designed to bypass my rational mind, and the spell breaks. You start seeing how your thoughts aren't always yours. You'll catch yourself thinking something and realize, wait, where did that come from? That's not my thought. That's a programmed response. That's conditioning. That's something implanted by 1,000 exposures to the same message. And once you see it, you can release it. Like catching a virus before it takes over your whole system. You develop what Bentov called expanded perception, not psychic powers, not magic. Just your nervous system operating at its actual capacity, instead of the limited, suppressed version you've been running on. Let me give you a concrete example. You're in a meeting at work. Someone's presenting an idea. Everyone's nodding along. Before, you'd probably nod along too, not want to rock the boat. But now, in that 7 Hertz state, you feel something off. The idea sounds good on the surface, but something doesn't align. You can't articulate it yet, but you feel it. That's your expanded bandwidth, picking up information your rational mind hasn't processed yet. Maybe it's micro-expressions you're catching. Maybe it's tonal incongruence in their voice. Maybe it's something even subtler, information coming through that field Bentov measured extending beyond your body. You're receiving data from the shared field, and you trust it. You speak up, you ask questions, and sure enough, when you dig deeper, there are problems with the idea. Problems everyone else missed, because they were only using their rational mind. You were using your whole system. That's the advantage. That's what they don't want you having. Another thing that shifts. You stop taking things personally. This is huge. Most people are wounded by 1,000 tiny cuts every day. Someone doesn't text back. They assume they did something wrong. Someone's in a bad mood. They think it's about them. Co-worker gives feedback. They spiral into self-doubt. When you're tuned to 7 Hertz regularly, you start feeling the actual source of things. You feel when someone's mood is about them, not you. You sense when someone's reaction is their own pain projecting, not about anything you did. This doesn't make you cold or detached. Actually, the opposite. You become more compassionate because you see clearly. You see suffering without taking it on as your own. You can help without drowning. It's like Bentov's model of the soul levels. At the physical level, we appear separate, but at deeper levels, we overlap. When you're operating from that 7 Hertz state, you're conscious of both levels simultaneously. You see the person across from you as separate, but you also feel the connection. Feel the shared field, so you respond to the deeper truth, not just the surface appearance. People feel this from you. They don't know why, but they feel safer around you, more seen, because you're not just listening to their words. You're present with them at a deeper level. Your field is affecting their field, in training them toward coherence just by being in the same room. Bentov talked about this. How one person in a coherent state affects everyone around them. You become a tuning fork. Other nervous systems start resonating with yours. This isn't ego. This isn't you being special. This is physics. This is how these systems work. A more coherent frequency entrains less coherent frequencies. That's the law. So you walk into a tense room and the tension eases. Not because you did anything. Because your field is broadcasting coherence. You're a stabilizing presence. People don't know why they feel calmer around you. They just do. And here's something else that shifts. Your relationship with time changes. In the default state, time feels scarce. There's never enough. You're always rushing, always behind, always anxious about the future or regretful about the past. But in the 7 Hertz state, time expands. Bentov measured this. He showed that subjective time actually dilates in altered states. What takes one objective second can feel like 2 or 3 subjective seconds. You have more time inside time. This sounds abstract, but you'll feel it, practically. You'll be in a conversation, and instead of thinking about what you're going to say next while they're talking, you're actually present, fully hearing them. And somehow you still have time to formulate your response. You're moving slower inside, So you have more space, more room to be conscious. Tasks that used to feel overwhelming become manageable because you're not fighting time anymore. You're moving with it, inside it. This is what meditation masters have known for thousands of years. You don't get more time by rushing. You get more time by expanding your subjective experience of it. And the 7-Hertz state does this automatically. It's built into the physics of it. Your perception slows down. Reality gets richer, more detailed. It's like going from a compressed MP3 file to a full, lossless recording. The music was always there. Now you're hearing all of it, and probably the most profound shift. You stop feeling alone. This is the big one. Most people walk through life feeling fundamentally separate, isolated inside their own skull. It's a lonely way to live. But when you practice this technique, when you actually feel your field extending beyond your body, when you sense the overlap with other fields, something shifts at the core. You realize experientially, not just intellectually, that you're part of something larger. You're connected, you're held, you're not isolated. Bentov's model becomes lived reality. You feel it. At the physical level, yes, you're separate. But at the deeper level, you're connected to everything. Every person you pass on the street, you're sharing a field with them. Every tree, every animal, the earth itself. All vibrating together in this cosmic web. This isn't New Age fantasy. This is what Bentov measured. This is what the Heart Math Institute confirmed. Your electromagnetic field interacts with other electromagnetic fields. You affect others. Others affect you. Constantly. When you become conscious of this, loneliness dissolves. Not because you're around people more, because you feel the truth. You're never actually alone. You're always part of the field, always connected. And from that felt sense, everything else changes. Fear diminishes because you're not defending an isolated self anymore. You're part of something that can't be threatened. Love expands because you see yourself in others. Literally. Your field and their field are overlapping. You're not separate. Competition dissolves into collaboration. Scarcity thinking dissolves into abundance because you feel the truth. There's only one field, one consciousness, experiencing itself through billions of apparently separate points. This is what they don't want you knowing. Because once you feel this, really feel it, you can't be controlled the same way. You can't be divided and conquered. You can't be sold the lie of separation that keeps this whole system running. You become dangerous. Not violent, not aggressive. Dangerous because you're unpredictable. You're operating from a different paradigm entirely. And your very presence, your coherent field, starts waking other people up. That's the real threat. Not you individually, but what happens when you reach critical mass. When enough people tune to this frequency, when enough fields come into coherence, the whole system shifts, the collective consciousness shifts, and everything built on separation and fear and control collapses like a house of cards. Because it was never real. It was always just a frequency, a very persistent, very well-maintained frequency, but still just a frequency. And frequencies can be changed. That's what Bentov knew. That's what he was teaching. That's why the work mattered so much. He wasn't just helping individuals feel better, though that's valuable. He was pointing at the mechanism of collective transformation, one nervous system at a time, one field at a time, coming into coherence, broadcasting that coherence, affecting other fields, spreading like a benevolent virus, consciousness waking up to itself, remembering what it always was. And when you practice this technique, when you tune to 7 Hertz every morning, you're not just helping yourself. You're participating in that larger shift. You're becoming part of the solution. Your field matters. Your frequency matters. You matter. Not because you're special, because you're part of the whole. And when one part of the whole wakes up, it helps every other part wake up too. That's the promise. That's the possibility. That's what's at stake here. But technique alone isn't enough. The entire environment is designed to keep you from accessing this state. So now I'll show you how to detect manipulation in real time and break free. You have the technique. Now you need defense. Your body knows when you're being manipulated before your conscious mind does. Learn to recognize signals. Watch for sudden fatigue when consuming certain media, not tiredness. Your nervous system working overtime to process contradictory information engineered into the message. Brain fog after scrolling. Difficulty focusing. Feeling scattered. That's confusion protocol. Your brain overwhelmed with contradictory input. Emotional reactions bigger than the stimulus deserves. You see something small, feel rage or fear out of proportion. Engineered triggers hitting unconscious associations built into you over time. Simple test. After 10 minutes consuming news or social media, summarize the main point in one sentence. Just one clear sentence. If you can't, if you struggle to say what the point was, you've been confused intentionally. Clear information is easy to summarize. Engineered confusion creates mental overload on purpose. The moment you notice those signals, stop. Physically step away. Close the laptop. Put down the phone. Walk away. This isn't willpower. This is breaking the entrainment loop before it locks in. Once it locks in, once your nervous system fully entrains to that frequency, it's much harder to shift. Use the Bentov technique immediately. Box breathing. 4 in, hold 4, 4 out, hold 4. Heart focus. Feel the wave from heart to brain. 60 seconds shifts your brain state out of manipulated frequency. You're manually resetting, taking control back. Now re-engage with information from the 7 Hertz state. Look at it again. Notice how it feels different. Information designed to manipulate feels jarring, discordant, agitating when you're in expanded state. You feel the hooks, feel the emotional manipulation. Genuine information feels neutral or clarifying, doesn't have that grabbing quality. But detection is reactive, catching it after it started affecting you. Let's talk proactive defense. Before touching any device in the morning, before checking your phone, before opening your laptop, do Bentov protocol for 10 minutes. Set your alarm 10 minutes earlier. This sets your baseline frequency for the day. You're inoculating your nervous system against manipulation, establishing coherence before chaos comes in. Remember blue light research? Specific wavelengths destroy dopamine reward pathways. Lower dopamine means reduced drive and heightened receptivity. Less motivated to question, more willing to accept. After 30 minutes screen time, look at something green in nature for 60 seconds. A plant, tree, grass. Green light wavelength from living plants triggers dopamine production. You're manually rebalancing what the screen depleted. Reduce information input to increase processable signal. Most people drown in information. Hundreds of sources, thousands of inputs daily. 99% designed to keep you reactive, emotionally triggered, mentally scattered. One deep source beats 100 shallow ones. Find 3 sources you genuinely trust. People who've proven over time they're trying for truth. Go deep on those. Read full articles. Understand full arguments. Ignore the rest. Every additional source increases noise, decreases ability to discern manipulation. Like trying to hear one conversation when 100 people talk at once. Can't do it. Remember Bentov's model. At soul level, we overlap. Electromagnetic fields interact. People near you affect your field. Spend time with conscious, grounded, clear-thinking people. Their nervous system state will entrain yours. When you're around someone calm and present, you start feeling calm and present. Happens automatically through field interaction. Avoid spending lots of time with constantly agitated, confused, reactive, scattered people. Not because you're judging them, because their field destabilizes yours. When you're around chaos, you become chaotic. Just physics. But all these techniques, all this defense is just individual liberation. That's the first step. Real power comes when you understand what Bentov understood deepest. We're not separate, all part of one field. When you stabilize in 7 Hz, when you establish that coherence, you're not just changing yourself. You're broadcasting that frequency into the shared field. Other people near you unconsciously entrain to it. Start feeling calmer without knowing why. More clear, more present. You become a source of coherence instead of chaos, a stabilizing influence in the field. Bentov talked about resonance and entrainment, a consciousness that's done its homework, a teacher, someone evolved beyond others. Their energy becomes more coherent, more harmonious. Like those oscillators we discussed, it entrains and pulls after itself consciousnesses less evolved. 1 person in a room changes the entire room. 10 people in a city change the city. 1,000 in a country change that country. Not through force, not through argument, through field effects, through consciousness itself. And that's why Bentov had to die. Not because of what he discovered, because of what happens when too many people learn it, when too many tune to that frequency, when too many step outside the control grid. June 1979, Bentov boards Flight 191 with documents proving consciousness connects everything, that we're all one, that we have power they don't want us knowing about. The plane crashes. He dies. Was it accident? Maybe. Can't prove it wasn't. But look at the pattern. Look at what happens to people who discover things giving individuals more power than centralized systems. Wilhelm Reich discovered orgone energy, said it could be measured, accumulated, used for healing. FDA labeled him quack, burned his research, literally burned his books. He died in federal prison. Royal Reich developed frequency therapy, claimed it cured cancer by targeting cancer cell frequencies. His laboratory broken into, destroyed. Research vanished. Died alone, discredited. Nikola Tesla discovered wireless energy transmission. Free energy for everyone. No more power companies, no more control over who gets electricity. His funding disappeared. Died alone in poverty. What connects them all? They discovered something giving individual humans more power than centralized systems. And centralized systems don't survive when individuals have power. The system depends on scarcity, control, you needing them. Today they don't crash planes or burn laboratories. They bury you in noise. Flood information space with contradictions, so people can't find signal. Surround truth with deliberate disinformation, so anyone finding truth looks crazy. Ridicule anyone questioning official narrative. Make them conspiracy theorist, nut job, not to be taken seriously. Most people give up. Decide it's too hard knowing what's true. Too much information, too many competing claims. They settle into comfortable numbness. Stop looking. Stop questioning. Which brings us to your choice right now. You can close this and go back to scrolling, back to the feed. Accept constructed reality. No judgment. It's easier, safer. You won't stand out, won't face ridicule, can just coast, or you practice Bentov technique for 30 days, every morning. 10 minutes. Learn to detect manipulation real time. Stabilize in 7 Hz. Become source of coherence in chaos field. Step outside their models. Become unpredictable. Wake up. Here's why it matters. Every person learning to stabilize in expanded state makes it easier for the next person. You're not just freeing yourself, you're raising baseline frequency of entire field, making it easier for others to find their way out. Bentov understood something they couldn't let spread. You're not powerless observer, not just along for the ride. You're active participant in reality's construction. Your consciousness matters, your frequency matters, your state affects the whole field. When enough people remember that, when enough tune to coherent frequency, entire control system collapses, because it's built on you forgetting, built on you believing you're powerless, separate, alone, built on you staying locked in fear and confusion. But you're not powerless, not separate, not alone. You're part of everything, connected to all of it. Bentov's wife Myrtala described his journey into expanded states. He would ask questions and get answers. Once he understood, he'd say, "Okay, I got it." and the page would turn. New things shown. He perceived the entire structure of the universe, saw how matter circulates from energy back to energy in a continuous cycle, saw how consciousness is modular, larger consciousnesses containing smaller ones, how we all exist on multiple levels simultaneously, how the ultimate reality is consciousness itself, the void, experiencing itself through all these forms. And at the end of his journey, when he asked who runs it all, who is the ultimate God, he found himself in infinite void. A brilliant light came down on him. He entered a tunnel of light, ascending faster and faster. At the end, he found something waiting. When he finally looked at it, he realized he was looking at himself. A carbon copy of himself. That self sat there, paying no attention to him. He didn't know what to say to himself. So he merged, backed into himself slowly like into a tight garage. And when he finally merged, there was a tremendous bang. He became the void, because he is the consciousness which is the void. That part of him had never left, had always been the void. The observer watching through his eyes, guiding him through this journey back to himself, his higher self, was the observer that never left, watching him create this whole reality for himself. We each create our own. It's a trip back home, to reunite with your own self. We are creators, producers, and consumers of our own reality, because we are consciousness itself. Bentov liked quoting an Indian sage named Shankara. On the vast canvas of the self, the picture of manifold worlds is painted by the self itself, and that supreme self, seeing but itself, enjoys great delight. They killed him, classified his research, used his techniques to build weapons, built global infrastructure to keep you locked in default frequency, controllable, predictable, manageable. But they missed something crucial. The technique still works. The method is sound. Physics haven't changed. You can still tune to 7 Hz, can still access that expanded state, can still step outside their control. So start today. Right now, 10 minutes, Bentov protocol. Every morning before touching any device, spine straight, box breathing, heart focus, feel the wave. Access that 7 Hz state. Watch what happens when you tune to frequency they don't want you finding. Watch perception shift. Watch how you start seeing manipulation clearly. Watch how you become harder to control. Watch how people around you start changing when in your field. Bentov proved we're all connected. Now prove he was right. Take the technique. Use it. Share it. Teach it to others. Become broadcast station for coherence instead of chaos. This is how we break free. Not fighting the system. Not through protest or violence. Through frequency. Through consciousness itself. Through each of us tuning to our true nature and broadcasting that into the field. They wanted this buried. Wanted you never knowing. But now you know. You have the technique. You have understanding. You have the choice. What you do with it determines not just your future, but future of everyone in your field, everyone you affect, everyone who might entrain to your frequency. The prison only works if you don't know you're in it. Now you know. The door is unlocked. Walk out. And when you do, hold the door open for the next person. That's how this spreads. How we remember what we are. One person at a time, tuning back to truth, raising frequency, changing the field. Bentov died bringing you this information. Don't let it be for nothing. Use it. Master it. Become it. Watch reality shift around you when you finally remember what you really are. Not isolated brain and skull, but infinite consciousness experiencing itself through temporary physical form. Connected to everything. Part of the whole. Always have been. Always will be. They can kill the body, crash the plane, but they can't kill consciousness. Can't destroy the connection. Can't stop the signal, because the signal is everything. The signal is all there is, and you are that signal expressing itself as you. Remember that. Live from that. Broadcast that, and everything changes. So here's what I need to know. After hearing all this, after seeing what Bentov actually measured, after understanding what happened to him? Do you think that plane crash was really an accident? Go to the comments and tell me honestly. Type, "not an accident," if you think he was silenced. Or just tragic timing, if you think I'm connecting dots that aren't there. I genuinely want to know what you think because I've been researching this for months, and I still go back and forth. And look, if this video gave you something, if the technique makes sense, if the timeline is suspicious, if any of this changed how you see reality, hit the like button. Not for me. Because YouTube's algorithm literally decides whether 10,000 people see this or 10 people see this based on that first hour of engagement. If you think this information matters, tell the algorithm it matters. Subscribe if you want more of this. I'm going deep on suppressed scientists, consciousness research. They don't want public techniques that actually work. This channel isn't about entertainment. It's about finding the people who are ready for this and going deeper together. The Philosophical Essence newsletter in the description. That's where I send the stuff that's too detailed for YouTube. Longer breakdowns, additional techniques, researchers I can't make full videos about yet. It's free. Join it if you're serious about this work. And I need you to think of one person right now. Someone in your life who would understand this, who's been asking questions, who feels like something's off with consensus reality but can't articulate it. Send them this video. Text it to them. Not to get me views, because they need to hear about Bentov. They need to know this technique exists. Your next move? There's a playlist on this channel about consciousness research and reality mechanics. That's where you go from here. This isn't the end of the conversation. This is the beginning. What do you really think happened to Bentov? I'll be reading every comment. Let's figure this out together. Till the next time.